الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما اعلموا عباد الله أن أحسن الكلام كلام الله تبارك وتعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد عباد الله my dear brothers and sisters now that the school is off and kids most of the time are at home what do you think parents would need the most in this summer vacation? I would say patience. That's what they need the most. When summer comes, that means kids will stay so long at home. And when kids are at home, you know what happens. It becomes loud a little bit. And when it's loud, it creates so much tension, sometimes stress at home, that even affects the relationship between the husband and wife. Even parents get affected by that. When it's summer, people, they plan trips. They go to Umrah. They go visit some family relatives. They go on a vacation. And only some of these vacations might not go well. It requires a lot of patience. Subhanallah. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam received the salam, the greeting, the salutation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Allah Azza wa Jal, through Jibreel, to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to convey that salam to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Khadija radiallahu anha, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told her, Inna Allah, ya Khadija, Inna Allah yuqri'uki salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent salam upon you, sent peace upon you. وَيُبَشِّرُكِ بِبَيْتٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ and He's given you the good news in Al-Jannah. You shall get a house in Al-Jannah. يُبَشِّرُكِ بِبَيْتٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ What are the special qualities about this house? If you ask any woman, any mother, she would tell us what she would need in a house. Two things. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم ببيت في الجنة لا صخب فيه ولا نصب that we shall have a house in Al-Jannah in which there will be no noise and no fatigue, which means no chores, no work at all. That's Jannah for women already. If they can find in dunya, they can have their Jannah, subhanAllah. But it requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of patience teaching children and being around them and deal with them on daily basis. Sometimes, you cannot control everything in their life. They have to act like kids. Even grown-ups sometimes act like kids. The kids that you expect them, subhanAllah, to act mature, they will act completely different way. So therefore, patience is indeed a great virtue. And that's therefore not just for the parents. Even if you're still young, or even if you're married and don't have children yet, summer brings a lot of troubles with it. When summer starts, subhanAllah, even when it comes to the ibadah, it becomes difficult to achieve. Last weekend I came from Michigan, subhanAllah, Salat al-Isha, Adhan al-Isha is around 11 o'clock at night. The Adhan and Fajr is 4 o'clock. Wallahi, it's jihad fi sabilillah. To maintain Salah in the masjid for Isha, people half sleep, subhanAllah. And barely wake up for Fajr. Then it's very hard, difficult. That requires patience. When summer begins, many people, they see the atrocities of this culture in terms of just feeling free, subhanAllah, that they don't see the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of covering and modesty and so on. It becomes a big challenge to control the eyes and the sight. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the believers, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ that you tell the believers, يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ they guard their sight, وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ and protect their private parts from committing the haram, of course. ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ this is more purifying for them. When it comes to patience, it's one of the greatest virtues that many people lack these days. So what is the essence of patience? What is it exactly? And why do we need that? This is inshaAllah ta'ala the topic of this khutbah bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. First, Imam al-Shatibi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says about his time, which was 800 years ago. 700 years ago, he speaks about his time saying, وَهَذَا زَمَانُ الصَّبْرِ مَنْ لَكَ بِالَّتِي كَقَبْضٍ عَلَى جَمْرٍ فَتَنْجُو مِنَ الْبِلَى. He says 700 years ago, this is the time of patience. This is the era of patience. مَنْ لَكَ بِالَّتِي. Who can give me that patience? Just like holding on charcoals. كَقَبْضٍ عَلَى جَمْرٍ فَتَنْجُو مِنَ الْبِلَى. To survive these atrocities and trials of this life. Just like holding on charcoals. Then he said, وَلَوْ أَنَّ عَيْنًا. If an eye, وَلَوْ أَنَّ عَيْنًا سَاعَدَتْ لَتَوَكَّفَتْ سَحَائِبُهَا بِالدَّمْ دِيمًا وَمُطَّلًا. If my eye would obey me physically, if my eye would obey me for what I'm going through, then the eyes will never stop shedding tears. They keep shedding tears, which means crying بِالدَّمْعِ دِيمًا وَمُطَّلًا, in abundance. وَلَكِنَّهَا, but I don't cry because of a problem I have. ولكنها عن قسوة القلب ولكنها عن قسوة القلب قحطها. It is dry because my heart is so hard. My heart is so hard, doesn't feel it. That's why I don't cry. فيا ضيعة الأعمار تمشي سبهللا. He is just crying, alas, for these lives, for this age, for our time that is going with no use. Summer is coming and requires a lot of patience. So you better use your time wisely. And you better make sure that with your families, you show so much and a lot of patience. Around you, the masjid, as you can see, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, there are a lot of young ones. Finally, they can bring them back from school to attend Salatul Jummah. It's a time that we revive their hearts. So be patient with them as a community, as individuals, and as families too. When it comes to patience, ya ikhwa, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said about it, وَلَمْ يُعْطَ أَحَدٌ وَمَا أُعْطِيَ أَحَدٌ خَيْرًا وَلَا أَوْسَعَ عَطَاءً مِنَ الصَّبْرِ. In Hadith Umar al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala in Sahih Bukhari wa Muslim, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. If anyone trains himself to be patient, don't tell me I have short tempers. Yes, that's true, but you can still help yourself becoming patient. Whoever does that, whoever trains himself, forces himself to become patient, يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help him become patient. And then he said, وَمَا أُعْطِيَ أَحَدٌ خَيْرًا وَلَا أَوْسَعَ عَطَاءً مِنَ الصَّبْرِ. Allah has never bestowed a bounty or a favor upon anyone better than patience. Not money, not intelligence, nothing other than patience. So if you have it, you have a lot of khayr, ya ikhwa. Al-Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya rahimahullah ta'ala, speaking about patience, he says, it's min a'mal al-qulub. This is from the works of the heart. It's not about the mental issue as much as really it's just a character. It's a khuluq, it's a matter of akhlaq and manners. That's what sabr is. That's what patience is. So you have to show that, and it begins from the heart. Once you have it there, you can control everything in your body. You control also your mental processing of it, and you can control your hands and your eyes and everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No wonder Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned patience in so many ayat in the Quran. If you just check the word sabr in any search engine of the Quran, just check the word sabr, you'll find the word sabr, patience, comes in more than 90 different locations of the Quran, in different variations. Just not more than 90 times, not 90 actually, not 90 different locations, but the number of the words of patience for sabr, more than that. And subhanAllah, if you look at it, there are so many ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes patience. And one thing that strikes you and makes you understand a value for another act of ibadah when it comes to patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of all the qualities of our deen and ibadat, whenever He talks about patience, the number one quality, the number one ibadah that always comes with patience, guess what, ya ikhwan? As-salah. The number one that comes repeatedly with patience would be as-salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. That you seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through what? Through patience and salah. Today many people, when they have troubles, they don't seek help from Allah through salah. They quit salah. They quit. Why? Because they're too busy trying to mind their own, calamities and crises. So they think that salah will take from their time. Subhanallah. It is what you really need. That's what you need. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam كان إذا حزبه الأمر فزع إلى الصلاة. If he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was afflicted by whatsoever, anything that grieved him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would rush to salah. He would look and seek help and assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through as-salah. Al-Anbiya, the messengers of Allah, they needed so much patience. We all know their stories here. They survived their time and the challenges of their people because of what? The amount of patience that they had when they dealt with them. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is an instruction for me and you and all of us. قال الله تعالى فاصبر كما صبر أولو العزم من الرسل. فاصبر, O Muhammad, you show me patience. Persevere in patience. كما صبر أولو العزم من الرسل. Just like those who were before you from the Anbiya and the Mursaleen, أولو العزم, those who strong resolve of the Anbiya and the Mursaleen, which means you're not unique in that. You need to show patience. And if this was for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what about us, ya ikhwa, so distant from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? We definitely need so much patience. The question is, now I understand that I need patience, but how can I get it? Tell me, how can I get patience? Well, patience is not something that you can buy from anywhere. You have to acquire it. You have to work so hard to earn it. How do you do that? 3 ways. Through your heart, and by tongue, and through your actions. Al-Jawarih. Al-Ilm qalu, they say that when it comes to sabr and patience, you can achieve it. You can achieve patience. Number 1, by heart. You train your heart, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ. And if you force yourself into becoming patient, you control yourself, you hold this quality in your heart, Allah will give it to you. And he said, they also said by tongue, patience by tongue, which means what? You remind yourself. You remind yourself that you need to be patient all the time. And you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you. So whenever something befalls you, what do? Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Kama qala Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ إِذَا صَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ, when a calamity befalls them, what do? They say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him will be our return. They always remember Allah Azza wa Jal. They never whine. They never whine because Allah is testing them. Never do that. And then through your actions, you control your eyes, you control your ears, you control your hands and your legs what they're taking you, your hand what they strike on the keyboard. You control everything. That requires patience. Again, it begins from the heart, saying, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. You keep saying that, and then you control your hands and your eyes and all your body. Ibadallah, when it comes to patience, it comes in different degrees. You need to show patience as you practice the commandments, and you need to show patience when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests you in things that are out of your control. العلماء يقسمون الصبر إلى 3 أقسام, 3 categories of sabr. صبر على طاعة الله. You need to show patience for practicing what you've been commanded to practice. Coming to salah, ya akhwa, is that easy? Wallah, it's not. It's not that simple, right? It's a big challenge. You cannot maintain 5 times a day easily these days unless, alhamdulillah, Allah bless you to be right close to the masjid. And even with that, when the summer comes and Isha becomes at midnight, and Fajr at 3 o'clock, it becomes very hard. But those who maintain that, definitely, they have shown a great deal of patience. Sabr ala ta'atillah. You are required to show patience when you make wudu, when you come to the masjid, when you teach, when you read the Quran, when you memorize the Quran, when you teach your children the Quran. You do that. The second category, sabrun an ma'siyatillah. You need to show patience as you abstain from the prohibitions, from the limit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that you should not violate. Like again in the summer, one of the biggest challenges people they have these days is controlling their sight and their eyes. It's so damaging. It's so damaging and it even damages relationship between husband and wife because of these things. So now it requires from all of us to control ourselves. Sabrun an ma'siyatillah. That's a negative action report from you. Just stay away from the haram, and you should be fine, inshallah ta'ala. And the third category, صبر على مصائب وعلى أقدار الله سبحانه وتعالى. To show patience when the aqdar means the catastrophes, the calamities that befalls you. You show patience when this happens to you. You have no control over events Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to test you with, right? Someone is coming. Only Allah knows what is hidden in these days and these weeks that are coming to us, inshallah. We don't know. We don't know if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bless us with prosperity or test and trials. We have no idea. You might travel and you have no idea what happened to you in this traveling, this journey. SubhanAllah, you might fall ill or sick. You might lose a beloved person. But at the same time, Allah might test you with something great that He needs to see from you gratitude. So we don't know, but if it ever happens, what do we need to do? To show patience. And just be there with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when this happens to us. How and when should we show that patience? Many people, I guess you all see that in real life, in reality, when someone is tested and tried, specifically those who have good, mashallah, practice of the deen. I'm not talking about those who are not that practicing, but some of the good practicing people, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to test them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests whomever He wishes, and no question asked. When Allah tests them, they start wondering and asking, why me? They say, subhanAllah, I do the 5-day prayers, I take good care of my parents, I do this, I do that. When my friend so-and-so is always Allah musta'an doing all these things, why me? Why not him? You don't question Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hikmah and wisdom behind it. And He said, وَعَسَى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. Perhaps you dislike something, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hiding so much khayr into that. You know, one of these occasions, these incidents, I cannot help it, wallah, but bring it up and remember again. The situation in Syria. It's the longest revolution right now in the Arab world, as they call it, the Arab Spring. It's the longest one so far. And it's not just the longest, it's the harshest and the most vicious. SubhanAllah, look at this. Look at those people, you watch them. When it started, they didn't defend themselves. They were just going peacefully. And Allah chose to test them at that moment. Let's see, are you serious about it or not? The test was unbearable to so many people. But to the people of Syria, wallahi, they're showing quality. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing the entire ummah by making them an example for us. Maybe because Allah wants for them something unique, something special. In most of these countries that had what is so-called the Arab Spring, until today they're still struggling on fixing the system. But for Syria, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perhaps had other plans. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the whole thing to come in overall, so that there is no return and there is no compromise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring peace and tranquility to the people of Syria. And may Allah bring victory to the people of Syria against the vicious regime there. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this quick and instant, Ya Rabbal Alamin. They showed great patience, Ya Ikhwan. And wallah, when you look at it, you just cannot help but say, subhanAllah, this is amazing. When you hear them chanting, Ya Allah, we don't have anyone else but you, O Allah. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They calling upon Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. You listen to that, you watch it, amazing. And you remember قول الله تبارك وتعالى وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا ويجعل الله فيه خيرا كثيرا. Perhaps you dislike something and there will be so much good as an outcome that will come from this. Ibadallah. Now when it comes to this, which one of these categories is the greatest? Which one should you care about most? I know we all need to show that altogether, but which one is the hardest? The hardest one, believe it or not, the ulama, they say, the hardest one is the one that you're required to do when you perform your ibadat and abstain from the muharramat. Which is basically to show patience as you perform the commandment is harder than showing patience at time of calamity. Why is that? Although we see people panic at times of catastrophes and calamities, more than when it comes to Salat al-Fajr or Isha. That is true. However, Isha and Fajr and abstaining from the haram, patience is required. It's an optional patience. But when it comes to calamities, you have no other choice. You can want as much as you want. Can you change it? So therefore, when you show patience at the first strike, you have no other choice. But when you show patience as you wake up for Fajr, stay up for Isha, and wake up for Qiyamul Layl, and fast when the day is very long, all of that, definitely it's a great work from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when the ulama, they argue among themselves, who showed the greatest patience? Was it Yusuf or Ayyub? I know in our common culture and language, we always considered Ayyub to have the greatest patience. But the ulama, they say, actually, the patience of Yusuf was greater than the patience of Ayyub. Because Ayyub had no other chance, no other choice. Yusuf had many choices. Remember when he was in prison? And the caller came to him and says, the king wants to speak to you. He wants to talk to you. That was an opportunity for him to escape that injustice he was going through. But he said, no. I'm not leaving this place until you tell your king to ask about these women who cut their hands. Let him investigate and see what happened many years back. I mean, the king, out of arrogance, he could say, who's that guy who demands some of this from me? Forget about it. There was a chance like this to happen. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Rahimallahu akhi Yusuf. May Allah have mercy on my brother Yusuf. If it was me at that time, I would have left immediately. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if it was me, I would have responded to the call right away. But Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he had a different thing. He had something else in his mind. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Ibadallah. That's what we mean. That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the story of Yaqub alayhi salam, he said, قَالَ فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Beautiful patience. That's what he said. Ya Allah, I just ask you to help me get and attain that beautiful patience. And that's all I'm asking of you at the beginning of this summer, inshallah. Sabrun jameel. You be patient with one another. Be patient with your community, with your leaders, with your children. Be patient with your spouses, with your co-workers. Be patient when it comes to perform your ibadah. Be patient and abstain from the muharramat. And be patient if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever chooses to test you. Beautiful patience means in the heart you're always happy and satisfied. By tongue you never complain, you never whine about it. And through your action you show your obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask Allah azza wa jal to help us all to obtain and attain that beautiful patience. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ثم أما بعد. Someone might wonder and ask, okay, if it was too difficult for me to hold it, can I just make dua that Allah alleviate the suffering and help me to go through this? Can I complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about what I'm going through, or should I just keep quiet all the time? Well, when it comes to patience, we need to understand that patience at the first strike. When the Prophet ﷺ one day he passed by a grave, and a woman was crying on that grave, her son was buried. So the Prophet told her, Ya Amatallah, ittaqillah wasbir. You just, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and show patience. So she just, without even looking, she goes, إِلَيْكَ عَنِّي فَإِنَّكَ لَمْ تُصَبْ بِمُصِيبَتِي. Get away from me. You have no idea what happened to me. So the Prophet ﷺ, politely, he just withdrew and he left. The people from distance, they saw what happened, so they went to the relation. They said, what was that? What did you tell him? Whatever. They said, قالوا هذا ذاك رسول الله. You were talking to the messenger of Allah. The woman panicked. Oh my God, what did I do? So she immediately judged for them. She stopped crying and she ran toward the house of the Prophet to catch him before he was there. He was already at home. قالت يا رسول الله والله ما عرفت. I swear, Ya Rasulullah, I didn't recognize it. I'm very sorry, I didn't recognize it. The Prophet ﷺ, he told her, As-sabru and as-sadmatul ula. Patience at the first strike. Which means, so, you lost the reward. if you would like to get that sabrun jameel, the reward for that beautiful patience, you have to show it at the first strike. Not like so many people, they keep whining and crying and yelling and cursing and cussing, and then after some time they just say, Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us patience. That's what they say. Too late for that. As-sabr and the sadmat al-ula, you need to show patience at the first strike. Still though, can I at least complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describe Yaqub to show sabrun jameel, beautiful patience? Still, Yusuf, Yaqub alayhi salam, when he lost his both children, what did he say? قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله. I only disclose my bath and huzn. I disclose my grief and my sorrow only to Allah. Which means I only complain my sorrow and grief to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He still complained to Allah azza wa jal, and Allah called his patience sabrun jameel. From this, our ulama, they said it's permissible and it is allowed for a person to complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you don't complain about him. If you complain about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you start arguing with him and go complain to people that Allah did this and this to me, you don't complain to Allah anymore. You're complaining about him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ash-shakwa ila Allah is okay. To complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's absolutely permissible. As a matter of fact, it's needed, because that's what we call a dua. But shakwa Allah, to complain about him, that's not allowed. That's not satisfaction. That's not rida. Now the last question. Can I show dissatisfaction if Allah shows the distance? The ulama, they say, you don't have to accept that qadr or that command that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't have to accept that. But what you're obligated to do is to show patience when this happens. You don't have to be laughing when this happens to you just to show satisfaction. You can cry. You can complain again. You can make dua. You don't have to. But the best of course, sabrun jameel and beautiful patience, is to show that satisfaction in the heart. That's the ultimate goal. Once we get there, inshallah ta'ala, that's when you get your sabrun jameel. It requires a lot of deeds, a lot of good work. To achieve patience in the summer, you're going to have to make a whole full schedule of good deeds and activities and training and making sure that you always associate your patience with what? As-salah. That's what Allah said. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. That you seek assistance in two. Showing patience and also the salah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to become patient. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the hidayah and guidance to have that sabrun jameel. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who maintain the 5 daily prayers on regular basis. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who perform the salawat in the manner that suits, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us all to become among those who are sabirin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about them, وَبَشِّرُ الصَّابِرِينَ. You give them the good news. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the good news in the dunya and the akhirah. I also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the people of Syria, that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them victory instantly this day, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send peace and tranquility upon the people of Syria. اللهم انصر اخوان المسلمين في سوريا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا قهار يا جبار، ليس لهم الا انت سبحانك لا اله الا انت، انصرهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم وحد صفوفهم، اللهم اجمع كلمتهم على الحق والدين يا رب العالمين. مكن لهم وثبتهم في الارض يا رحمن يا رحيم. عباد الله، ان الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا ايها الذين امنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. وارض اللهم عن خلفاء